AITA for canceling my wedding after my fiancé's girls' trip video exposed her? My name is Hubert. I am 33, and until 3 weeks ago, I was supposed to be marrying Claire, the woman I honestly thought I would spend the rest of my life with. We lived together in a shared apartment with 2 mini wedding gifts stacked near the entryway, a half-finished seating chart on our dining table, and a white binder full of vendor paperwork that I treated like it was a newborn child. I work in commercial insurance. That means most of my day is spent reading contracts, exclusions, cancellation terms, risk clauses, and fine print normal people ignore until something catches fire. It is not glamorous, but it pays well, and it made me the person everyone called when something needed to be organized, negotiated, or cleaned up. That was basically how our wedding happened too. Claire had the Pinterest boards, the champagne wall idea, the sage green napkins, and strong feelings about table runners. I had the spreadsheets. I tracked the venue payments, photographer deposit, DJ portal, catering invoice, hotel block, and the honeymoon package we booked with flights and a resort credit. Claire cared about whether the signature cocktail should have rosemary in it. I cared about whether the cancellation clause said 30 days or 45. I am not going to pretend I was the perfect fiancé. I get jealous. I have a temper. I do not like feeling like people are laughing at me behind my back. I know that about myself, and I tried hard during our relationship not to let it become the steering wheel. But I loved Claire, and because I loved her, I kept telling myself trust was supposed to feel uncomfortable sometimes. Claire and I had been together 4 years and engaged for 14 months. The wedding was 6 weeks away. Her dress was altered. My suit was hanging in a garment bag in the hall closet. Our engagement photos were framed on the bookshelf. My mother, Linda, had already bought earrings to wear to the ceremony. Claire's mother, Denise, had already started referring to the reception as the event of the year, which should tell you plenty about Denise. Claire was 31 and worked in marketing. She was funny, polished, and the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they had been waiting for her to arrive. She also liked attention more than she admitted. I knew that. I told myself there was a difference between enjoying attention and betraying someone. The bachelorette trip was where everything started slipping. It was supposed to be a girls-only weekend. Claire said it would be brunch, a spa appointment, matching robes in a hotel suite, rooftop drinks, and maybe one expensive dinner where everyone would complain about the bill but still post pictures like they were celebrities. Her maid of honor, Maya, organized most of it. I never loved Maya. She had this way of saying disrespectful things and then acting like you were boring if you reacted. At our engagement party, she raised her glass and said, "To Claire's last year of freedom," even though we had already been engaged for months. When I looked at her, she laughed and said, "Relax, Hubert. It's a joke." That was her favorite shield. Everything was a joke until someone asked why it was funny. A week before the trip, Claire was packing in our bedroom, laying out little white outfits on the bed. I was sitting on the floor with the wedding binder open, checking the final payment deadlines. "Is this really girls only?" I asked. Claire looked up from folding a satin robe. "Yes. I'm just asking." "No, you're not just asking." She zipped a makeup bag harder than necessary. "You're doing the thing." "What thing?" "The jealous thing." I closed the binder. Maya keeps making last night of freedom comments. "I don't love that." Claire rolled her eyes. "It's a bachelorette weekend, Hubert. People say stupid stuff. It's brunch and drinks. We're not going to Vegas with fake IDs." "I'm trying to trust you," I said. "Don't make me regret it." Her face softened then. She came over, sat on the edge of the bed, and touched my cheek. "You won't," she said. "I promise. It's girls only. I love you. In 6 weeks, I'm marrying you." I wanted to believe her so badly that I ignored how rehearsed it sounded. The first day of the trip was normal. She texted me a picture of her coffee at the airport, then one from the hotel room mirror with all the women in matching robes. Later, a picture of brunch with tiny pancakes and mimosas. She called me for 5 minutes before dinner and said the spa had been overpriced, but nice. "See," she said, "very scandalous. We had facials and complained about parking." I laughed because I wanted to be the fiancé who trusted his future wife. I wanted to be the guy who didn't ruin a weekend because his insecurity got loud. The second night, the text got slower. At 7:18, she sent a picture of her shoes by the hotel bed. At 8:03, she wrote, "Rooftop soon, love you." At 9:41, I texted, "Have fun. Be safe." She didn't reply. That alone was not a crime. People go out. Phones die. Friends take pictures. I told myself all of that while I watched a movie I wasn't paying attention to and ate leftover chicken straight from the container because our plates were buried under registry thank you cards. Then, at 11:36 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was from Evan, one of my groomsmen. Evan was dating one of Claire's friends, which meant he sometimes got pulled into their social orbit whether he wanted to or not. I assumed he was sending me some stupid meme from his own night out. The text said, "Bro face with tears of joy." Then a video loaded. 12 seconds. That was all it took. The video showed a rooftop bar, loud music, string lights, and people yelling over each other. Claire was there in a short white dress, holding a drink and laughing. She was not standing with her friends. She was sitting in a man's lap. Not leaning near him. Not posing beside him. Sitting in his lap. His hand was on her waist, low enough that nobody could pretend it was accidental. Claire had one arm around his shoulders, and she leaned into him like it was normal. Like she knew exactly how close she could get. Maya's voice was in the background, clear as anything, yelling, "Last night of freedom." Then everyone cheered. The clip ended with Claire laughing and hiding her face against the man's neck. I watched it once. Then I watched it again. Then 4 more times because my brain kept refusing to understand it. My first thought was not even that she cheated. My first thought was that they all knew. All those women. Her closest friends. The people who had smiled in my kitchen, eaten food I paid for, talked about bridesmaid dresses in our living room. They were cheering while my fiancé sat in another man's lap 6 weeks before our wedding. I called Claire. No answer. I called again. No answer. I texted, "Call me now." Nothing. I called Maya. She didn't answer either. Then Evan texted, "Oh my goodness, dude, wrong chat. I'm sorry. I'm drunk. I thought I was sending that to someone else." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type. "What exactly is this?" He replied, "I don't know. I'm sorry, man. That was a lie, or at least not the whole truth, but I didn't know that yet." I called Claire again. It went straight to voicemail. Then Maya finally texted me, "Don't start drama. It was a joke." I stared at those words until they blurred. I wrote back, "Then why did everybody know the joke except me?" She didn't reply. Something in me snapped. I am not proud of this part, but I am not going to clean it up to make myself look better. I paced around the apartment like an irrational person. There were wedding gifts stacked near the door, still in silver wrapping paper. A monogrammed serving bowl from Claire's aunt sat on the counter. In my overwhelming frustration, I pushed the box beside it off the counter, and something inside cracked. Then I saw our engagement photo on the bookshelf, the one where Claire was laughing with her forehead against mine. I let my anger take over, and I knocked the frame to the floor. The glass shattered, sending bright little pieces sliding under the couch. I stood there breathing hard, looking at the mess, and for a second I scared myself. But I did not stop. I went into our bedroom, pulled Claire's suitcase from the closet, and dragged it into the hallway. I placed a few of her things on top of it, not neatly, not carefully. Shoes, a sweater, her travel toiletry bag, and a stack of folded shirts. Then I took a picture of it by the door and texted her. "Your freedom starts tonight." She called 10 minutes later. By then I was sitting on the kitchen floor with broken glass 20 feet away and my phone in my hand like it was a weapon. "What is wrong with you?" she shouted the second I answered. I laughed once. It sounded ugly even to me. "That's your opening? You put my suitcase in the hall. You sat in another man's lap while your friends screamed about freedom. It was a joke." There's that word again. "You are being unreasonable," she said. "It was a stupid video. Nothing happened." "Who is he?" Silence. "Claire, who is he?" "Some guy at the bar." "You looked real comfortable with some guy at the bar." "You're drunk on your own jealousy right now," she said. "I'm not doing this." Then she hung up. That was the first night. The ugly night. The night I gave her exactly what she needed if she wanted to make the story about my temper instead of her lie. The next morning, I woke up on the couch with a headache and a dry mouth. The apartment smelled like coffee I had made and never drank. Sunlight hit the broken engagement frame on the floor and made the glass look worse than it had in the dark. I cleaned it up slowly. Not because I had suddenly become calm, but because stepping around broken glass in your own home makes you feel like a fool. My mother called around 9 a.m. "Hubert," she said, and I could already hear that she knew something. What did you hear? Denise left me a voicemail saying you had a severe outburst. I closed my eyes. Of course. She said Claire is scared of you, my mother continued. I broke a picture frame. I didn't touch Claire. She wasn't even here. I'm not accusing you, Mom said. Her voice stayed calm, which somehow made me feel worse. I'm telling you what story is already being shaped. I leaned against the kitchen counter. She lied to me. I believe you. She was in some guy's lap, Mom. Her friends were cheering. I believe you, she repeated. But listen to me carefully. Do not give them a second story to tell. The first one is bad enough. I didn't answer. She softened a little. You can be right and still hand them the weapon they used to bury you. That sentence stayed with me. After we hung up, I sat at the dining table with my laptop open and the video on my phone. I played it again, this time not like a man being betrayed, but like a man reviewing evidence. That was when I noticed the guy's face. The first few times, I had only seen Claire. Her dress, her arm, her laugh, her body language. But now I looked at him. Dark hair, sharp jaw, silver bracelet, a navy shirt with the sleeves pushed up. He looked familiar. Not close friend familiar. More like a name you have seen on your fiancé's phone at 10:45 p.m. and been told not to worry about. Nolan. The name hit me so hard I sat back. Months earlier, Claire and I had been watching a show in bed when her phone lit up on the nightstand. I saw the name Nolan before she flipped the phone over. Who's Nolan? I asked. She didn't even look at me. Just someone from work. It's late. It's about an event. At 11 p.m.? She sighed. He's not even my coworker. He's just around sometimes because his brother is my boss. They do office events and fundraiser stuff. Please don't start. I let it go because I was trying to be better. That was the phrase I used on myself all the time. Be better. Trust her. Don't be that guy. Then there were the happy hours that started happening more often. The office birthdays. The quick drinks because her team was networking. The way she sometimes came home smiling at her phone and then locked it when I walked in. At the time, each thing by itself seemed too small to make into a fight. Together, they made a map. I opened Claire's social media and scrolled back through tagged photos from a work fundraiser about 8 months before. I remembered the event because she had worn a black dress and joked that the donors were so rich they probably had separate wallets for guilt. There it was. A photo near a step-in repeat banner. Claire standing with a group of people. Nolan beside her, slightly behind her, his hand resting on her lower back. Not obvious enough to scream about. Not innocent enough to ignore once you knew what you were looking at. I took a screenshot. Then Evan called me. He sounded terrible. Dude, I am so sorry. Stop saying that and explain. He exhaled. I got added to this side chat by mistake because I'm dating Tasha. It was mostly them posting clips from the weekend. I was drunk and trying to send a dumb video to my buddy. I sent it to you. Why was there a side chat? He hesitated. Evan. Because some stuff wasn't going in the main bridesmaid chat. My stomach turned. Was Nolan invited? You know him? Answer me. I think Maya's boyfriend invited him. He knows people at that rooftop place. They were saying he could get them a table. So he wasn't a random guy at the bar. No. Did they know I wouldn't be okay with him being there? Another pause. Man, Evan said quietly, yeah, they knew. That was the moment my anger changed shape. It did not disappear. It got colder. Until then, I had wanted to scream. I had wanted Claire to answer the phone and admit she had humiliated me. I wanted her friends to stop smirking behind their screens. I wanted everyone to feel what I felt. But my mother was right. If I kept yelling, breaking things, and sending furious texts, Claire could turn the whole thing into a story about my jealousy. She could say I was controlling. Maya could post vague quotes about insecure men. Denise could call family members and cry that I had terrorized her daughter. And people would listen. Not because Claire was innocent, but because my reaction would be easier to discuss than her behavior. So I stopped asking what she did. I started asking what I could prove. I pulled out the wedding binder. It was white, thick, and stupidly organized because I am exactly that kind of person. Venue contract in front. Photographer. DJ. Caterer. Floral. Hotel block. Honeymoon documents. Payment receipts in plastic sleeves. I opened my Google Drive folder too, the one labeled Wedding Admin, because apparently betrayal is less chaotic when your PDFs are alphabetized. The venue was in my name. My signature. My card. The deposit was non-refundable, which hurt, but the second installment had not processed yet. Cancellation before 45 days meant no additional balance due. We were at 42 days. I stared at that for a while. Then I checked the email thread. The venue had sent a reminder 3 days earlier asking for final headcount confirmation and second installment authorization. Not yet paid. I called the venue and asked for Grant, the manager we had been working with. "Mr. Hubert," Grant said in that dry, professional voice people use when they know weddings are emotional landmines. "How can I help? I need to cancel my event." There was a pause, but not a dramatic one. Grant had probably heard worse before lunch. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said. "Let me pull up your agreement." I heard typing. "Your event is scheduled for 6 weeks from Saturday. Your initial deposit is non-refundable. However, since the second installment has not been processed and your cancellation notice is being provided before the next billing authorization, we can stop any further charges. Since my signature is on the agreement and my card is on file, you can process that without Claire's approval?" "Yes," he said. "You are the contracting party." Those words did something to my spine. You are the contracting party. For the first time since the video, I felt the floor under me again. "Please send confirmation by email," I said. Of course. After that, I worked down the list. The photographer allowed cancellation before the final balance due date. We lost the deposit, but I stopped the remaining payment. The DJ had a portal where Claire had spent hours submitting playlist requests, including a do not play list that banned 3 songs she claimed were corny. I canceled through the portal and followed up by email. The caterer was more complicated. We had paid a headcount deposit, partially refundable if canceled before final menu lock. I sent the required notice, referenced the clause, and asked for written confirmation. The hotel block had no penalty as long as we released unbooked rooms before the cutoff date. I released them. The honeymoon hurt. We had booked flights and a resort package. The flights were on my credit card, both tickets, but only mine could be converted into personal airline credit without extra paperwork from Claire. Hers became a mess of cancellation rules and partial credit under her name. The resort refunded only part of the package and kept a fee that made me want to punch a wall, so I walked away from the laptop for 10 minutes until that urge passed. Then there were the flowers. That one was in Claire's name. She had insisted because she loved the florist and wanted to handle something important. She had paid the floral deposit from her own account. I left it alone. Not my contract. Not my rescue. By that afternoon, my inbox was filling with cancellation confirmations. Each one felt like pulling a nail out of my own hand. Painful, but necessary. Claire started texting around 2 p.m. "You are being cruel." Then, "You canceled the venue?" Then, "My mom is sobbing. Are you happy?" Then, "You scared me last night. You always do this when you're jealous." I stared at that one for a long time before answering. "You lied to me. Those are not the same thing." She wrote back immediately. "You are making one stupid video into our whole relationship." I typed 3 different responses and deleted them all. Finally, I wrote, "The wedding is canceled." She called. I did not answer. Maya posted on social media an hour later. I know because 3 different people sent it to me. Some men will ruin a happy moment because they can't handle a woman having fun. Protect your peace. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable it felt lazy. Then the family group text started. Claire's cousin asked if the hotel block was still active because she had not booked yet. My aunt asked if the rehearsal dinner was canceled too. One of my friends wrote privately, "I don't know what happened, but flights are expensive, so please tell people soon." That was when I realized silence was helping Claire more than me. I did not want to make a circus. I also was not going to let Denise and Maya turn me into a controlling villain while people spent money traveling to a wedding that no longer existed. So I wrote one email. The subject line was simple: wedding cancellation notice. I sent it to both immediate families, the wedding party, and the guests who had already received travel information. I did not include co-workers, distant cousins, or people who did not need the details. I attached the video Evan had sent me. Before sending it, I watched it again to make sure nothing explicit was in it. It was humiliating, but it was not graphic. The email said, "The wedding is canceled. I'm not marrying someone who needed one last night of freedom from me. Please do not contact vendors on my behalf. Any arrangements under my name have been canceled according to contract terms. Guests should cancel travel and lodging plans as soon as possible. I'm sorry for." The inconvenience to everyone who made arrangements in good faith. That was it. No name calling. No essay. No threats. Just the truth and the logistics. The reaction was immediate. My sister texted, "I cannot believe this." My mother called, and when I answered, she said, "That was colder than I expected." Was it wrong? No, she said. It was clear. Several guests actually thanked me. Quietly, privately, but they did. One cousin wrote, "Thanks for saying something before I bought my kids plane tickets." An old friend from college said, "Sorry, man. That video was enough." Then came the people who thought I had gone too far. Maya texted me, "You didn't have to send the video." I replied, "You're right. Claire didn't have to create it." She wrote, "Nobody cheated." I wrote, "Nobody told me either." She stopped responding. That night, Claire and Denise showed up at the apartment. I knew they were coming because Claire texted, "We are outside. Open the door like an adult." For a second, the old angry part of me wanted to ignore them. Then I looked at the wedding binder on the table and opened the door. Claire stood there with red eyes and no makeup, which made her look younger and almost fragile. Denise stood beside her in a cream cardigan, holding her purse like she was prepared to hit me with it. "You humiliated my daughter," Denise said before I even stepped back. I opened the door wider. "Come in or don't." They came in. Claire looked around the apartment, and her eyes stopped on the empty space where our engagement photo had been. "So you really destroyed everything," she said. I almost took the bait. Almost. Instead, I said, "Sit down." Denise stayed standing. A real man does not throw away a marriage over one embarrassing night. I looked at Claire. Was Nolan one embarrassing night? Her face changed. Not much, but enough. Denise blinked. "Who is Nolan?" Claire said quickly. "He was just someone at the bar." "No," I said. "He's your boss's brother." Denise turned to Claire. "What?" Claire's mouth tightened. "He knows people there. Maya's boyfriend invited him. I didn't know he'd be there." "You expect me to believe that?" "It was a group thing. You told me it was girls only. It was supposed to be. You sat in his lap. For a picture. It was a video." She wiped her cheek angrily. "Nothing happened. That is your defense? That I only saw the part where you were comfortable enough to do it in public?" Denise cut in. "Hubert, enough. You have always been jealous. Claire told us how you get." I felt heat rise in my chest, but I kept my voice flat. "Good. Then she also told you I asked about Nolan months ago." Claire looked down. Denise saw it. That was the first crack. I picked up the venue contract from the table and laid it in front of them. Several sections were highlighted. Cancellation. Payment schedule. Contracting party. "What is this?" Denise snapped. "The venue contract." "I don't care about paperwork." "You should." I tapped the signature line. "My name. My card. My liability." I canceled it. Claire looked at the pages like they might rearrange themselves if she cried hard enough. "You can't just cancel our wedding." "I can cancel the parts one signed for. My family already told everyone." "That sounds like a family problem." Denise's face went red. "You are being vindictive." "No," I said. Vindictive would be calling her office. Vindictive would be sending that video to her boss. Vindictive would be making threats. I canceled contracts I was legally responsible for and told guests the wedding was off. Claire's voice broke. "You were supposed to fight for me." That hit harder than I expected. Because part of me had wanted to. Even after the video. Even after Nolan. Even after Maya's texts. Some stupid part of me wanted Claire to look me in the eye and say something real enough that I could pretend we were still the people in that engagement photo. But she didn't say, "I hurt you." She didn't say, "I lied." She said I was supposed to fight for her. I looked at her and said, "A real man doesn't finance his own humiliation." Denise sucked in a breath like I had slapped someone. Claire whispered, "So that's it?" "No," I said. "That was it on the rooftop. This is just the paperwork catching up." Nobody spoke for a few seconds. Then Claire said the thing that ended whatever soft feeling I had left. "You're going to look crazy when people realize nothing happened." I unlocked my phone, opened the fundraiser photo, and turned it toward her. "Nolan's hand on your back 8 months ago. Nolan texting you late. Nolan at your bachelorette trip. Nolan in the video. Do you want to keep calling him random? Or do you want to try a new lie?" Denise looked at the photo. Her face shifted from anger to calculation. She wasn't thinking about my feelings. She was thinking about who else might have seen it. Claire stood up. "I'm not doing this." "You've said that a lot," I said. "And yet here we are." Denise grabbed her purse. You will regret being this cruel. I walked to the door and opened it. I already regret the first hour after I saw the video, I said. I don't regret anything after that. They left. The next few days were ugly in a quieter way. People picked sides. They always do. A couple of Claire's friends said I had publicly shamed her and that sending the video was unnecessary. One of my groomsmen said he understood canceling the wedding but thought the email was nuclear. My reply was that letting people buy plane tickets for a fake wedding would have been worse. Claire's father, Martin, called me 2 days later. He had always been quieter than Denise, the kind of man who stayed in the garage during family arguments and pretended to be checking the freezer. Hubert, he said, sounding tired. I'm trying to understand what's refundable. Most things under my name are already canceled. The flowers. Claire signed that contract. He sighed. She says the deposit is gone. I believe her. Another long silence. Then he said, was that man really Nolan? Yes. She told us he was random. I know. I heard him breathe through his nose. Claire, why would she tell us he was random? It took me a second to realize he was not really asking me. Martin, I said, that's a question for your daughter. He did not defend her. He did not apologize either. He just said, I'm sorry it ended like this. That was the closest anyone in Claire's family came to admitting the truth. Then Nolan's identity spread. I don't know who recognized him first. Maybe someone from Claire's work circle. Maybe one of the bridesmaids told her boyfriend, and he told someone else. But once people knew he was not a stranger from a rooftop bar, the whole one stupid video excuse fell apart. Claire deleted several old posts. Maya took down her quote about insecure men. That almost made me smile. Evan sent me screenshots from the side chat after asking Tasha's permission, because their relationship was also apparently hanging by a thread. There were messages from before the rooftop outing. Nolan can get us in. Do not put this in the main chat LOL. Hubert would have a stroke. Maya had replied with laughing emojis. There it was. Not cheating proof in a courtroom sense. Not some dramatic smoking gun. Just proof they all knew I would not be okay with it. And they did it anyway. I saved the screenshots and did nothing with them. That was one of the few choices from that period I am proud of. The old me would have blasted them everywhere. The newer me, or maybe just the exhausted me, understood that not every piece of ammunition needs to be fired. Claire came by one more time to get the rest of her things. I had packed them, neatly this time. Boxes labeled bathroom, closet, kitchen, and desk. Her suitcase was there too, no longer dumped in the hall like a prop in an argument. She looked at the boxes and said, You packed fast. I didn't want you coming back 5 times. That easy, huh? I almost laughed. No, not easy. She picked up a framed print she had bought at a flea market and held it against her chest. For what it's worth, she said, I didn't sleep with him. I believed that she wanted that to matter more than it did. Maybe not, I said. But you lied like someone who had something to protect. She stared at me for a long time. You know your temper made it hard to tell you things. That was the closest she came to an apology, and it was still shaped like blame. My temper is mine, I said. Your lying is yours. Her eyes filled again. We were 6 weeks away. I know. Our names were on everything. No, I said. That was part of the problem. Mine was. She flinched. I did not enjoy that as much as I thought I would. After she left, the apartment felt too quiet. Not peaceful, just emptied. The wedding gifts near the entryway became a problem to solve. Some I returned. Some I mailed back with short notes. One person quietly returned a registry gift without saying anything, and I appreciated that more than any speech. I put the wedding binder in a storage box at first, because throwing it away felt too dramatic. A week later, I pulled out the documents I still needed for refunds and shredded the rest. The honeymoon credit stayed in my airline account. I have not used it yet. Maybe I will go somewhere alone. Maybe I will let it sit until the idea of airports stops tasting bitter. The money was not cleanly recovered. I lost deposits. I lost the venue deposit completely. I lost part of the resort package. I lost time off work I had already arranged, and I had to explain to my boss why I no longer needed 2 weeks after the wedding. I lost the version of Claire I had built in my head, which cost more than all of it. But Claire lost things too. She lost the floral deposit under her name. She lost the beauty team retainer she had booked with her own card. She lost control of the story. She lost the ability to call Nolan a random guy once people saw the fundraiser photo and heard how long he had been around. She lost Maya's perfect shield of, it was a joke, because everyone had seen the joke, and it was not funny unless I was the punchline. I am not proud of the suitcase in the hallway. I am not proud of the broken frame. I am not proud of the first ugly hour when I let rage drive and common sense ride in the trunk. But I am proud that I stopped. I stopped before I became the villain they needed me to be. I stopped before I sent threats, called offices, or turned my pain into something that would follow me longer than the wedding would have. I stopped and read the contracts. That sounds cold, maybe even ridiculous, but contracts tell the truth when people don't. They say who promised what, who signed, who paid, who is responsible when the party ends early. For 4 years, I thought trust meant swallowing discomfort so Claire would never feel accused. Now I think trust is simpler than that. It is not needing a private chat to hide the truth. It is not laughing while your friends cheer about freedom from the person paying for your wedding. It is not calling a man random when his name has been lighting up your phone for months. I lost the wedding. I lost the honeymoon. I lost the woman I planned to marry. But I kept my name off a marriage that would have started with humiliation, excuses, and a 12-second warning I was lucky enough to receive by mistake. And when people ask why the wedding was canceled, I do not explain much anymore. I just say, I saw enough, and then I read the contract. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.